Hi, my name is Alida Esmail and I'm a Pilates instructor at Concordia University in the Department of Recreation and Athletics. Today I'm thrilled to provide to you another 60-minute class on the mat, Pilates class. No accessories required. I'm going to propose different modifications as usual or different progressions depending on how your body feels today. So feel free to challenge yourself, do something a little bit different that maybe you haven't done before. But first and foremost, please listen to your body, breathe throughout the entire class, and if you need to take a rest, please do so. Take a pause at any point. Please feel free to check out some of the other Pilates videos I have on my YouTube channel or to follow me on Instagram to follow updates. All right, let's get started. Today we're going to start a little bit differently. We're going to start on all fours. So hands and knees. Knees are under the hips, hands under the shoulders. So here we have a space between the knees. So they're really hip width apart. Same with the palms of the hands. Really pressing into the mat. Slight bend in the elbows. So we want to avoid hyperextending in those elbows. We're going to tilt the tailbone and the top of the head up towards the ceiling, making a nice long curve in the spine, and then tilt the tailbone and the top of the head under the body, curling the middle back up towards the ceiling. Again, lengthen the spine and curl it up, and lengthen and curl it under. Let's add the breath. Inhale, curl it up. Exhale, curl it under. A few more times. Inhale. Still pressing into the mat with the hands and the knees. Micro bend in the elbows. One more time. Inhale. And exhale. We're going to come to a neutral spine, so lengthening out through the tailbone and the crown of the head, both in opposite directions. We want to think as if we're pulling the spine in those two directions, creating a bit more space between the vertebrae. So really lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Think of bringing your belly button in towards the spine, lifting it up, engaging in the core. Here we're going to just lean the body over towards the right side, so placing a bit more weight into the right hand and knee, and then over to the left side. So just kind of swaying from side to side, maybe feeling a little bit of movement in your shoulder and your hip, just checking what that feels like today. And then we're going to start a little bit of a circle with the weight. So let's lean over to the left, then lean forward and towards center, over to the right, and a little bit back and towards center. So making a big circle clockwise, just moving the weight around the wrists, around the knees, keeping the pelvis in neutral. So continue to think of those sit bones and the tailbone shooting out towards the wall behind you, or the space behind you, depending where you are. And let's change direction, counterclockwise. Again, just giving a little massage out for the wrists. One more time. And back to center, kneel it back, hips onto the heels. I'm going to face you just so you can see me. We're going to take a little stretch in the neck. So you can just release out the ankles, the wrists, the shoulders. Just relax the arms alongside the body, tilting the right ear towards the right shoulder. Just letting gravity do most of the work here, just opening up the different parts of the body, letting the left side of the neck lengthen. If you want a little bit of an extra stretch, you can press the left hand, flex the right fingers up, and press the heel of the hand towards the floor. So even here, we're engaged in our center, slight pull in of that belly button towards the spine. Sit bones reaching down towards the heels, tall spine and just the head tilting over. Slowly release that back to center and over to the other side. Again, you can add the extra stretch of flexing the fingertips up towards the ceiling, pressing the heel of the hand down. With every exhale, just giving in a little bit more towards gravity. You can already start to think about breathing into the back of the rib cage, keeping the front ribs pulled in. Tall spine. And release that back to center, turning the head over to the right and to the left. Just warming up a little rotation. Inhale. Exhale. Continuing to reach that spine in opposition, crown of the head up, tailbone down. Bring the head back to center and tilt the chin towards the chest. Keep the shoulders wide and look up. Again, down and up. So maybe this is the first thing you're doing in the morning, just opening up, listening to how your neck feels today, how did you sleep, or maybe you've been going through your day a little bit already. Perhaps you were sitting at a computer or otherwise. Always nice to take a little moment to check in with different parts of the body. And let's bring it back to center. We're going to come back to our hands and knees. So coming onto the palms of the hands, shoulder width apart, knees hip width apart. And here we're going to take the right hand and slide it towards the front of the mat and up parallel to the mat. Bring it back down and slide it back under. So already starting to really feel perhaps that engagement in the center. We want to keep the weight of the body in the center of the mat. Just checking in, what does the rest of the body, what do the muscles need to do in order to keep that weight in center while we remove one point of support. Keep that belly in, micro bend in the supporting elbow. Inhale, exhale, switching from side to side. Keep those shoulder blades down, so we want to have a long neck, eyes are down towards the mat, crown of the head reaching forward, tailbone reaching back. One more time each side, inhale, exhale, in, and out. Good, this time we're going to move to the legs, lower body, same principle, lengthening one leg, sliding the toes down, and lift the leg parallel to the mat. Bring it back down and slide it under. I'm going to shift a little forward so I stay on the mat. Lengthen the left leg, lift it up, down and back in. Keep those micro bends in the elbows, shoulder blades down. So we're using a little bit more back support here rather than crashing in the shoulders. Both hip bones, we want to keep pointing towards the mat. Again, weight of the hips, stay in center. Every time you bring the knee back, bring it right under the hip. So then legs stay hip width apart. Thinking of length, pull out through the toes, open the space in the hip socket. You can come a little bit lower with the leg if parallel to the floor is too high for you, but we definitely don't want to go higher than parallel. We really want to prioritize length here. So reach, 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 and bring it back. Inhale, reach. Exhale, back. One more time each side. Inhale. Exhale. In. And out. sit the hips onto the heels, sorry, and roll out the shoulders. Good. We're going to sit and swing the legs around. Come to the top of the mat, sitting high on the sit bones. So we're going to do a half roll back, if you know this one. If you have a block, you're welcome to place it between your knees, but I did say no accessories today, so we're going to do it without the block, or that's how I'm going to cue it through. But we still want to have our knees in line with our hips, same thing with our heels. So there's a little bit of a space between the legs. If you don't have a block, we want to keep that engagement of the inner thighs as we roll down. So careful that the knees don't start to splay outwards. All right, belly in towards the spine. Let's bring the hands forward, palms towards one another. Shoulder blades on the back. So caution that we don't want to start rolling forward. Starting with a low scoop in the pelvis, tilt the pubic bone up towards the ceiling, bring the shoulders with you, rolling one vertebra at a time, stopping halfway back, and keep that C curve in the spine, bring it back up, and lengthen to vertical. Again, exhale, tilt low, scoop in the pelvis, roll it back. Keep that curve, bring it all the way up, and then root the sit bones down, lengthen the spine. Again, exhale, roll it back. Inhale, back up. Again, exhale. Inhale. So the eyes can stay forward, even as you curve down. Maybe the eyes come maybe max towards the kneecaps. And back up. Feeling that core firing up. Exhale. Chest is wide. Inhale, back up. One more time. Exhale. We're going to stay down in this one. So keep scooping in the pelvis. Feel the sacrum towards the mat. Pubic bone up, belly in, lots happening. Let's glue the palms of the hands together. Keep that engagement. Rotate the ribcage to the right and to the left. Knees in line with the hips. Keep rotating. Exhale. Exhale. Chest is wide. We want to feel that heat in the center. Keep scooping in the pelvis. See if you can relax the hip flexors, the legs, all the work is in the core. Keep it going for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it back to center. Reach up with that curve and then release over the legs. Good, just relaxing the head, relax the shoulders. And roll it back to vertical. Good. You should feel that fire in the belly. We're going to come down onto forearms. So elbows, looking for a 90-degree angle in the elbow. So elbows right under the shoulders. Here we're using the full forearm, the palms of the hands, the fingers to press into the mat to open out of the shoulders. So we want to avoid sinking down in the chest. We're nice and wide in that neutral position and also avoiding pressing up towards the ceiling. So kind of find that happy medium. This time we're going to bring the right leg up to a single hip fold and down over to the left. Lift and down. Every time we bring the leg up, we're going to point the toes and down. Point and down. So you can almost use the pointing of the toe to propel your foot up off the mat, getting a nice spring up and down. Here we want to feel that hip crease. So the pelvis does not move, it's staying in neutral, belly in, just the thigh bone moving in the hip socket. Here we're going to start with our progression. So either you can stay like this or taking it one step further. We do the switch of the legs at the same time. One goes down, one goes up, and switch. and switch. Keep pressing into the shoulders. So here we never release the weight of the leg towards the mat anymore. Keeping the toes pointed, just a little tap to the mat and back. Switch, switch, exhale, exhale. Wide chest, belly in for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring both knees in towards the chest. Just roll out the ankles. So we're a little bit more tilted backwards, still opening in the chest. Nice support for the shoulders. And other direction in the ankles. Again, you can stick with any of the previous versions. We're going to take it one step further. So let's start with the feet back down onto the mat. Let's do a little tilt in the pelvis, checking back in, forward and backwards, and then find that neutral position. Press into the forearms, chest is wide, belly in. We bring our right leg to a single hip fold, toes are pointed. Lengthen the right leg to a diagonal. Bring it back to the single hip fold and down. So I'm just breaking it down here one step at a time so we can all catch what the movement is. So as we look for that diagonal in the leg, it can be about mid-height. We don't have to go too high. Important thing is that we want to keep the pelvis in neutral. So the minute we start to go too high, we start to tilt backwards, or even you can't keep the leg straight, maybe, depends on the flexibility of your leg. So we're looking for a nice open back of the knee, kneecap sliding up the thigh, and in neutral pelvis. So check what height your leg needs to be to keep all of that stability. This time we're going to keep the leg in that diagonal. Bring the left leg up and switch. Switch. So both legs in the air, one in that single hip fold, one lengthened, and then switch. And switch. Belly in, press into the forearms, wide in the chest. Exhale. Exhale. Really, again, looking for length. Reach out through the toes. Reach, reach, reach. Lots of energy here. Good. All right, we're going to keep 2 long legs. So one is up in that diagonal. One comes low to a hover, going to our scissors. Switch and switch. We're not going to stay here long. Breathe it through for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Release the legs down. Roll onto your back. Take a nice big stretch. Reach the toes forward, the fingertips up above the head. And release. Exhale. Good. I hope that feels good. Let's bring the feet onto the mat. Heels in line with the sit bones. Again, let's just take a little tilt to the pelvis, forwards and backwards. Just feeling the weight of the sacrum down onto the mat. You can even tilt side to side. Just feeling what kind of control you have in the hips today. Coming back to that breathing in the rib cage, opening out the back and sides of the ribs. Keeping that engagement of the front ribs to the back ribs, nice and connected on the front of the body. Let's bring on the next inhale, the hands up towards the ceiling and then up above the head. Exhale, back to the ceiling and to the mat. Again, inhale. Really balloon out the rib cage towards the mat. Exhale, bring it back. So we're nice and stable now in our hips, belly in. We're in neutral pelvis. So we have a natural curve in the lower back. Flowing right through this motion. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Let's bring the fingertips behind the head. Elbows want to stay nice and wide here in your peripheral vision. So this wide V. Slide the shoulder blades down towards the hips. So again, engaging those back muscles, lengthening out the neck. Chin towards the chest, we come up to our ab curl and down. Inhale, exhale. So here, I always see in classes and with clients, it's super tempting to want to come up really high and get that middle back up off the mat, but that's not what we're looking for here. We want to keep the neutral pelvis. We're going to feel it more in the upper abs. We want to think of lengthening out through the crown of the head, coming up and over like a big beach ball, and then back down. So work with what height you have today so that you can keep the pelvis in neutral and the legs relaxed. So we want to avoid holding in the hip flexors, or the hamstrings or the glutes. Let that all release. Focus on the upper body. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, lengthening out the back of the neck. Exhale. On this next one, we're going to stay up in the ab curl, bringing the right leg back to our single hip fold. We're going to go for the toe taps again, this time keeping the upper body up. So you can remember the other progressions that we did. So either you're doing one leg at a time for level 1, or switching both legs at the same time for level 2. Or if you want to go right away, if you're feeling good today, you can go right away with kind of a bicycle leg of lengthening one, 90 degrees with the other. Lengthen and lengthen. Keep that chin in towards the chest, maybe a little higher in the upper body, not forgetting. Belly in towards the spine, elbows out, shoulder blades down, full body engaged here. Lengthen and lengthen. All right, we're almost there. We're going to add one more thing, and that's a rotation in the upper body. All right, we're going to rotate towards that front knee, so opposite shoulder to opposite knee, and switch. And switch, crisscross. Exhale, exhale, almost there for 5, 4, 3, belly in, 2, and 1. Good, release it down, knees in towards the chest. Whew, that feels good. Release the shoulders, guide the knees in towards the chest with the hands, and maybe rocking from side to side, giving a little massage to the lower back, the middle back. Let's place the feet back down onto the mat. We'll open out the hip flexors, so going into our neutral bridge. Again, if you have a block, you can place it between the knees. If not, a little extra challenge without the block. You still want to imagine something between your knees, keeping the knees in line with the hips, but still working those inner thighs, even though we're not squeezing something between the knees. Let's start with the arms alongside the body. Again, feet in line with the hips, maybe the heels a little bit closer, as if you can graze the back of the heels with the middle fingers. Coming back to that tilt in the pelvis, so tilt the pubic bone up towards the ceiling, letting the lower back touch the mat. Continue rolling the hips all the way up so there's weight into your shoulder blades. Backs of the shoulders pressing down towards the mat. Feet also pressing down in towards the mat. Again, imaginary block between the knees. Bring them a little bit closer. See how that feels different in the inner thighs. Lengthen the front of the hips. Lengthen the lower back. So squeezing the glutes. Lots of work for the back side of the body. Squeezing the hamstrings. Now it's time to use those legs. Roll one vertebra at a time back down onto the mat. Back the way you came. So really see if you can control that spine. Last thing are the hips to come down to the mat. And back to neutral. Again, inhale, nice long inhale. Expand the rib cage. Belly in, front ribs in. Long diagonal from the shoulders to the knees. Let the eyes stay up towards the ceiling. Press into the backs of the shoulders. So the weight is not in the neck, it's in the upper back. And roll it back down, feeling that length on the thighs, coming all the way back to neutral. One more time like that. Nice inhale as we roll up. And exhale down. And just windshield wipe the knees from side to side. Let them flop to the right and then to the left. Just releasing out the hips, the inner thighs, the lower back. And we come back to center again. Feet in line with the hips. We're going to go for a second variation. Again, listen to your body, rest when you need, stay with whatever modification or progression works best for you. Anchoring down into the shoulder blades and the base of the feet. Tilts the pubic bone up towards the ceiling, knees together or in line with the hips rather. And roll up to the diagonal. We are going to stay there. Let's bring our right heel away from the mat and then switch left heel up. Left heel down, right heel up. And switch. And switch. So keep anchoring down in the backs of the shoulders. Long lower back, belly in. Knees in line with the hips. Feel those inner thighs working really high up towards the groin. Switch the heels. Switch. 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 You should feel this in the back of the legs. Still using those glutes to press the hips up. All right, this time we're going to go with both heels at the same time. Both heels lift and lower. Lift and lower. As the heels lower, keep the hips high, long lower back. Still anchoring down towards the floor to help press the hips up, up and down, up and down. For 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're going to bring the heels back up, staying there, and walk the feet a little bit closer towards the shoulders. So you're a little bit further in, a little bit more work for that back side of the body. Keep tilting the pubic bone up, long lower back. Squeeze those knees in line with the hips. You should feel this working. Inhale the arms up towards the ceiling and up above the head. Exhale, bring it back. Keep those hips high. Inhale. Exhale. 2 more times. Inhale. Hips are high. Squeeze the glutes. Squeeze the hamstrings. Press into the balls of the feet. Last one. Really nice. Exhale. Bring the heels down 1 vertebra at a time. Roll the spine back down onto the mat. And you can just open the feet the width of the mat and then windshield wiper the knees from side to side. Release all that tension in the hips, inner thighs, maybe any tension you've accumulated in the lower back or in the neck. Release that all out. All right, lengthen the legs, and we're going to come over onto one side of the body, so finding a side lying position. So we have our toes pointed, toes in line with the hips, the shoulders, and the top of the head. So you want to think as if we're squeezing between 2 walls here. We're in a very narrow corridor. Again, front ribs pulling towards the back ribs, opening the back of the rib cage, the side of the rib cage as we breathe in. Guiding that belly in towards the spine and away from the mat, so it's nice and supported in the center. Coming back to that idea of finding the length in the body, so crown of the head reaching up. I say crown of the head so that we don't lift the chin forward. We want to keep that chin A little in towards the neck. Open the back of the neck and reach the middle of the top of the head up. At the same time, the tailbone and the toes are reaching down. Hips are stacked, really lengthening out both sides of the waist. Shoulders are also stacked, top shoulder sliding down the back. Let's start with our fingertips just down lightly, tapping the mat in front of the chest. Squeezing both legs together. Both legs, first one's always a little tough. Lifts and lowers. So both legs moving together. Squeeze those inner thighs. You want to think as if you're holding a piece of paper or a pencil between your thighs. You can even go grab one and place it there. So lots of energy coming back to those inner thighs, shoulders open, belly in. So as we lift, we want to prioritize again the length in the body, still reaching those legs long as if you want to touch the wall, and back, in and out. Inhale, exhale. For a little extra challenge, bring the hand to the hip or up towards the ceiling. If ever your feet are cramping a little bit, you can always switch to flexed feet or alternate between flexed and point. Few more times. Feel that lower leg acting like a shelf for the top leg, inner thigh working. This time we're going to keep the legs up. Let's all flex our feet. Just the lower leg is going to move. It's going to lower and then come back up to the top leg. Lower and up. Keep that belly supported. Good. Really pressing out through the base of the feet as if you're standing on the side wall. Both legs are parallel. Again, you can choose where your hand is, either on the hip, up towards the ceiling, or keeping that light tap of the fingertips towards the mat. Watch out that there's no extra pressure into that hand. That's called cheating. Keep all the work in that core. 2 more times. Up and down. Up and down. Good. Give that a little release. We're going to bend our knees. But today we're going to go at about a 45-degree angle. So normally we come up full to that single hip fold position. But here, let's keep the heels in line with the sit bones. A light 45-degree angle bend in the knees. We're still stacked in our hips. Let's bring our hand onto our top hip here. Letting that top hip guide it away from our face. Lifting that lower waist away from the mat. Let's bring our knee up towards the ceiling and back down. So here we keep the feet together to start. The goal here is to tap into that large glute muscle, gluteus maximus. So we want to avoid rolling back in the hips. That defeats the whole purpose of this exercise. So as the knee comes up, keep the hips stacked again. You're up against a wall. You can't roll back. Squeeze the glute a little bit more to lift that knee and down. Lift and down. So strengthening the glutes can be a nice support for your lower back if ever you have lower back issues. Again, we want to stay in our neutral pelvis. It's also training some good stability muscles. We have that transverse abdominis, that deep ab muscle working like a corset around our center. Pelvic floor is engaged, belly in. If you're feeling good with this exercise, you can take it one step further, lift the knee and the ankle at the same time and back down. So it's a little bit more weight for the glute to handle, making it have to work a little bit harder. You can have the feet relaxed here. Inhale. Exhale. So we're going to slow down the movement to coordinate with the breath. Inhale. Exhale. Still thinking of opening in that hip socket. Find a little bit more space each time. All right, you can stick with this, or we're going to take it one step further. Keep the leg up in the air, flex the foot. We kick the leg towards the wall below you or towards the feet, keeping that leg hip height, and then bend the knee back. Press out through the base of the foot, press the heel, lengthen the leg, and bring it back. So here we want to find one long line in the body with that top leg, lengthening the hip flexor. And then without tilting the pelvis, we bend the knee, find that hip crease. Again, kick and bend. So keep that tailbone and the sit bones reaching towards the base of the mat without tilting forward. You should definitely feel this in the side of the hip and into the glute. Lots of work to keep that leg up in the air. Good. Still supported in the core, wide in the chest. Feeling good today, so we're going to take it one step further right away. If you need to rest, go for it. Keep that leg lengthened. Externally rotate the leg and bring it back to parallel. Externally rotate and parallel. So it's the thigh bone in the hip socket that's rotating outwards and then back in. Working those rotator muscles just under the glute. You'll feel it in the glute and the side of the hip as well because we're keeping that leg up in the air. Rotate and back. Okay, we're almost there. You should feel the burn like I do. This time we're going to keep the external rotation, point the toes. Last thing, lift a little higher. Back down parallel. Again for 4, 3. This is the last one. 2. Last exercise on the side, And last one. And release. Oh, roll onto the back. Let's stretch that side out. Cross the leg over. Feed the fingertips through the legs. Hold on to the back of the hamstring or onto the front of the leg. Flex that right foot or whatever leg you're working, that's folded over, crossed over. Flex the foot, protecting the joints in the knee. And relax the shoulders towards the mat. Give yourself a little stretch in that glute. For a little extra stretch, you can use your elbow to press that bent knee or that crossed over knee away from your face as you pull the other leg in towards the chest. So we're still working our arms here. It's always tempting to want to release everything, but that doesn't do much for the stretch. Nice big inhale and exhale. Let's release that foot back down onto the mat. Still have that leg crossed over. This time the crossed over leg, we're gonna bring that foot down towards the floor. So we're rotating on our hips. This is gonna tap into a little bit of the side of the hip and into that smaller glute muscle. You can even hold onto the leg with your hand and guide that knee away from the face. Pretty intense stretch. The side of that hip there. Take it easy, breathe through it. See if with every exhale you can release a little bit more of that tension. So you want to try and keep that chest rolled open towards the ceiling. A little bit of a twisting stretch here. One more breath. And just release that top leg. Lengthen both legs on the mat. Give them a little shake. Hold on to the backs of both legs, bending the knees, taking a little roll forwards and backwards, trying to keep that C curve in the spine. And a little nice massage for the lower back and the whole spine. And one more time. When we come up, we're going to stay in that balanced position. So here, keep the legs in that kind of tablette, single hip fold, this double hip fold position, wide in the chest. You can hold on to the backs of the legs here to start. Wide in the chest, find that support in the belly. One leg at a time. We're going to let go of the leg with control, tap the toes down and bring it back up. Other leg, tap the toes down, bring it back up. So we're in a little scoop in the pelvis. So we're kind of on our sacrum here, belly in, chest is wide. Exhale, inhale, exhale. So if you're feeling good, you can continue this with just a light tap of the fingertips behind the legs. So a little bit more strength needed to keep the control of those legs. Or if you're feeling extra good today, we're going to come, as we let go of the leg, we lengthen the leg and then bring it back in. Again, lengthen and back in. Lengthen and back in. So a little bit of a balancing act on the back of the pelvis there. Keep that belly in. 2 more times. Last one. And bring it all the way up. Release the upper body over the legs. Let the top of the head just drop down between the knees. Take a little release. Rolling the spine back up. We're going to come back to our half roll back. So starting tall in our sit bones, hands forward, shoulders back. Scoop low in the belly, coming to our half roll back. We stay there. Glue the hands together. We're doing another series of this rotation. Belly in, chest is wide, and exhale, rotate. Exhale, exhale. Maybe you feel a little stronger than before. Maybe you feel weaker if you're tired. Knees stay in line with the hips. Lower body doesn't move. Just the rib cage moving. Dig a little deeper to find that core strength. Breathe it through. We go for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to center. Reach it up. And again, release it over the legs. Rolling back up to vertical. We're going to turn around into that same position, but just facing the other way on the mat. Anchor those feet down, knees in line with the chest, hands forward. We're going to take a full roll down onto our backs. So we're going to start with our knees bent. So tilting the pelvis low, we're going to go real slow. We're only doing 1 to get all the way down onto the mat. Belly in, keep scooping low in that pelvis. Every inch of the way, again, scoop, scoop, almost there. Halfway down. 8, 9, and 10. Release it down onto the mat. Hands up above the head and lengthen the feet. Nice big stretch. And now we're going to roll, ready to do our second side lying position. So second side of the body. Lengthen the legs, toes in line with the hips, shoulders, and top of the head. Again, parallel legs here, toes pointed, really reaching out of the hips. We're back between our 2 walls, squishing us together. Hips are stacked, shoulders are stacked. Waist is lifted. Take a couple breaths here just to come back to some calmness in your mind. To connect back with the breath. Expanding the back and sides of the rib cage. Top shoulder blades sliding down the back. Light tap of the fingers in front of the chest on the mat. Like we did the other side, squeezing the legs together. Again, holding a paper or a pencil between the thighs if you want, or just imagining it. Both legs come up, both legs lower. Continuing to find that length, sit bones and tailbone reaching down, crown of the head reaching up. Inhale down. Exhale up. Again, if the feet are cramping, if they're not used to working so much, you can switch to flexed or alternate between point and flexed. Nice long waist on both sides, top side and underside. Long neck, shoulders down. For 3, 2, and 1. Release that down. 45-degree angle in the hips and the knees. Slight bend, heels stay in line with the sit bones. Everyone can bring their hand onto their hip, really guiding that top hip away from the face. That's going to help lift the waist up to lengthen both sides of the waist equally. Belly in and up. Keeping the feet together, we open the knee and down. Inhale. Exhale. So in Pilates, we really like to coordinate the breath with the movement, even if that means that the movement has to go a little slower. In fact, slower movements are actually a little bit more challenging. Requires a lot more control, a little bit more strength in that deep muscle structure. So as the saying goes, quality over quantity. Here, even after a couple repetitions, you should start to feel that work. All about having the proper alignment, and that taps in to the deep muscles that we're trying to target. Inhale. Exhale. If this feels good, if you stayed with this on the other side, keep it. If you want to go further, knee and ankle lifts and lower. Inhale. Exhale. Again, no rolling back in the hips. We're stuck up against a wall. We can't roll backwards. Keep those hips stacked. Use a little bit more of the glutes to get that height. Inhale. Exhale. Navel in towards the spine. So like we did on the other side, we still have a few more progressions to go. We want to feel the burn, feel the fire in the body, working those muscles, making them stronger. But of course, listen to your body and pause or stay at whatever exercise that feels good for your body today. All right, on the next one, we stay up, flex the foot, kick the heel to lengthen the leg, coming into one long line in the body with that top leg. Again, really pressing up through the base of the foot, letting the hip open, letting the waist lengthen, and then bend the knee back, keeping the neutral pelvis. Lengthen and bend. Lengthen and bend. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. In and out. In and out. 2 more. All right, on this next one, keep the leg long, flexing the foot, really pressing up through the base of the foot. External rotation, back to parallel. Really think of it high up on the thigh. Thigh bone rotating, that makes the rest of the leg rotate with it. So it's really a deep motion in the hip. So it's not just the ankle moving or the toes. It's really the full leg initiated by that thigh bone. Keeping the height of the leg, hip height. Feel the side of the hip and the glutes working. Belly in, shoulders wide. Full body engaged here. 2 more times with that rotation before we go into the last exercise on our side. Good, keep the external rotation, point the toes a little bit higher in the leg and back to parallel. Up and down. This is the last exercise on the side, so make it count. We're almost there. Belly in for 3, 2, keep rotating, and 1, and release it down. Ooh, let's roll onto the back to stretch that out. Come back onto the mat, cross that working leg over, flexing the foot. Guide the fingertips through, hold onto the hamstring or the shin. And relax the shoulders down. Guide the knee in towards the chest. Even in this position, we want to bring the chin a little bit towards the chest, still lengthening out the back of the neck, letting the back of the head really drop down towards the mat. So avoiding this kind of hyper extension, hyper curve in the neck. For a little extra, guide that crossed over knee away from the face. And slowly release that foot down towards the mat. Keep the leg crossed over and press that foot towards the floor, rolling over onto one hip. You can even go grab onto the leg of the ankle. With the other hand, guide that knee away from the face and roll the chest, the shoulders back towards the ceiling. So again, we're really using the arms here to help with the stretch. And with every exhale, see if you can release the hips a little bit more towards the mat. Twisting stretch, targeting the outer edge of the hip. And slowly release that leg. We're going to roll over onto the stomach. Press into the palms of the hands, press into the knees, and shift yourself up. Shift the hips back onto the heels, taking a little shell stretch. Release the forehead down towards the mat. Release the hips down towards the heels. Elbows can be heavy. And bring it back up onto all fours. We're going to finish off today with a little plank series. So we've warmed up that center, the side body. we are ready to go with this full body exercise. So let's come down onto our forearms. We still have our knees bent. Curl the toes under. Slide the shoulder blades down. Belly in. We lift the knees to a little hover away from the mat. Eyes stay between the forearms, really anchoring down into those forearms. Open up the shoulders. We want to open up the space between the shoulder blades. Lengthen one leg at a time, really pressing out through those heels. And we lower the hips so that they come in one long line from the top of the head to the heels. Here we're going to press the weight forward, bring the weight a little more into the toes, and then press the heels back. Again, shift the weight forward and back. Nice and strong in the forearms. Widen the shoulder blades, belly in. Breathe it through. Full body working here. A few more times with this shift. Forward and back. Good. This time we're going to bring the right arm to the center of the mat. Open the legs a little bit and then rotate to a side plank. So we're using the side of the feet, pressing down into the mat. Press into the arm, shoulder blade down, really using that side body, the back. Lift the rib cage, lift the hips, hand on the hip or up towards the ceiling. Inhale the arm up above the ceiling, up above the head, and back to diagonal. One more time, up and back. Good, bring it back to center. We're still in that plank. Let's shift it to the other side. Bring the left arm to the center of the mat. Swivel the legs, swivel the heels over to the other side. Press into the sides of the feet. One long line in the body. Use that side body, the back muscles. Press into the forearm. Hand comes up. Inhale. Rainbow in the body. Up and over. Exhale back to a diagonal. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. Back to center. Bring the knees down and shift the hips back onto the heels. Let's interlace the fingers behind the hips and slowly guide the hands up towards the ceiling. Little stretch for the shoulders. And release. Starting with the tailbone, roll yourself back up. And you made it through. We are done for today. Thank you so much for following. Please feel free to comment below. And again, check out my YouTube channel for more videos. Have a great day.